The woods always seemed like a good place to get lost, not in a scary way, but in a way that helped you find yourself. I loved hiking, but sometimes it felt lonely. My family wasn't really into the outdoors like I was. I wanted adventure, something more than just the same old trail. I dreamed of seeing a bear, or maybe even a wolf, something wild and exciting. I packed my backpack with snacks, water, and a notebook to write down all my thoughts. I walked deeper into the forest than I ever had before. The trees grew taller, and the sunlight barely peeked through the leaves. It felt like a different world. I imagined myself as a brave explorer discovering new lands. But then I saw something. It was huge and hairy, standing near a cluster of trees in the distance. It was bigger than any bear I had ever seen in pictures. My heart pounded in my chest. Was it Bigfoot? My legs felt like jelly. I wanted to run, but my curiosity was stronger than my fear. I slowly moved closer, hiding behind trees, peeking out to get a better look. The creature was even bigger up close. It was covered in thick, dark brown fur. It looked like a giant man, but much hairier and wilder. It turned its head and I froze. It had a face, not like a monster, but with eyes that seemed to look right through me. We stared at each other for what felt like forever. I didn't know what to do. Should I run? Should I yell? I just stood there, my mouth open, completely speechless. Then it did something unexpected. It raised its hand just a little, like it was waving. I couldn't believe it. Bigfoot was waving at me. I nervously raised my hand back, giving a small, shaky wave. It lowered its hand and then turned and walked slowly into the trees, disappearing into the shadows. I couldn't stop thinking about Bigfoot. Was he friendly? Was he dangerous? I decided to go back the next day. I packed extra snacks just in case. When I reached the spot where I had seen him, I didn't see anything at first. Then I heard a rustling in the bushes. Bigfoot stepped out just like before. He looked at me and I looked at him. We just stood there, exchanging glances. He didn't seem angry or scared. He just seemed curious. I took a deep breath and slowly reached into my backpack. I pulled out an apple and held it out to him. He tilted his head, studying the apple. He took a step closer, then another. He reached out his massive hand and gently took the apple from me. He looked at it for a moment, then took a big bite. He seemed to like it. A small smile even seemed to appear on his furry face. I smiled back. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something amazing. From then on, I visited Bigfoot every day. I always brought him food, apples, bananas, even peanut butter sandwiches. He seemed to especially love bananas. One day when I arrived, I found something waiting for me. It was a pile of shiny rocks and bright red berries. I didn't know if they were safe to eat, so I didn't try them, but I understood the gesture. Bigfoot was giving me a gift. I left him a small, colorful drawing I had made of the forest. The next day, the drawing was gone, and in its place was a perfectly smooth, flat stone. It was like we were trading treasures. I realized that Bigfoot wasn't just a big, hairy creature. He was smart and kind and maybe even a little lonely, just like me. This strange exchange of gifts deepened our bond, solidifying a friendship that no one would ever believe. It was becoming clear that this was more than just curiosity, it was turning into something truly special. We couldn't talk to each other in the way people normally do. Bigfoot didn't speak any language I knew. But we found other ways to understand each other. He would point to things he wanted me to see, a bird's nest high in a tree, a patch of colorful mushrooms growing on a log. Sometimes he would make a soft humming sound, like a song. I didn't know what it meant, but it always made me feel calm and peaceful. I would try to communicate back by drawing pictures in the dirt or mimicking his gestures. One day, I was feeling sad because my grandma was sick. I sat down near Bigfoot and started to cry. He didn't say anything, but he put his big hand on my shoulder. It was a simple gesture, but it meant so much. I knew he understood how I was feeling, even without words. It was like we had our own secret language, made of small actions, feelings, and a connection that went deeper than words. One sunny afternoon, Bigfoot beckoned me to follow him. He led me deeper into the woods than I had ever gone before. We climbed over fallen logs and ducked under low-hanging branches. Finally, we arrived at a hidden waterfall. The water cascaded down the rocks into a clear, sparkling pool. It was the most beautiful place I had ever seen. Bigfoot splashed in the water, inviting me to join him. I took off my shoes and socks and waded into the cool water. We splashed each other and laughed, even though he didn't make any sound. It was like we were kids playing together. Then he showed me a secret cave behind the waterfall. Inside, the walls were covered in sparkling crystals. It felt like we were in a magical world. We spent the whole day exploring and playing. I realized that Bigfoot wasn't just a friend, he was showing me the wonders of the forest in a way I never could have imagined. That day, the woods became our playground. One day, as we were walking through the woods, I heard voices. Other hikers. I panicked. What if they saw Bigfoot? They might be scared or try to hurt him. I quickly pulled Bigfoot behind a thick bush, motioning for him to stay quiet. He seemed to understand. He crouched down, hidden from view. I peeked through the leaves and saw a group of people walking down the trail, laughing and talking. They didn't notice anything unusual. As they passed, I felt a surge of protectiveness for Bigfoot. He wasn't a monster, he was my friend. I couldn't let anyone find him and ruin his peaceful life in the woods. After the hikers were gone, I let Bigfoot know it was safe. He emerged from the bushes, looking a little confused. I pointed to myself and then to him, then made a shushing motion with my finger. He seemed to understand that I was trying to keep him safe. From that moment on, I knew I would do anything to protect my friend. I started bringing books with me when I visited Bigfoot. I knew he couldn't read, but I thought he might enjoy hearing the stories. I would sit down next to him and he would listen intently as I read aloud. I read him fairy tales, adventure stories, and even some funny poems. He seemed to especially like stories about animals. Sometimes he would make a small noise, like a grunt of approval, when I read something he liked. It was so rewarding to share these stories with him. One day, I was reading him a story about a lost puppy. When I got to the part where the puppy finds its way home, I started to cry. Bigfoot gently patted me on the back with his big hand. It was like he understood the sadness in the story and was comforting me. Sharing stories became another way for us to connect. Even though he couldn't understand the words, he understood the feelings. It was a special time that brought us even closer. One afternoon, I noticed Bigfoot seemed sad. He was sitting by himself, looking out at the trees with a faraway look in his eyes. I sat down next to him and gently touched his arm. He looked at me and I saw a deep sadness in his eyes. I didn't know what was wrong, but I could feel his pain. I tried to comfort him by humming one of his favorite tunes. He looked at me with gratitude, but the sadness didn't go away. After a while, he pointed to a picture in one of my books, a picture of a family. Then he made a soft, mournful sound. I realized that he was missing his own family. Maybe he had lost them a long time ago. It made me so sad to think of him being alone in the woods. In that moment, I understood that Bigfoot wasn't just a mysterious creature. He was a being with feelings, memories, and a deep longing for connection. His sadness was palpable, and it deepened my understanding of him. One night, a terrible storm raged through the woods. The wind howled, and the rain poured down in sheets. I was huddled in my tent, feeling scared and alone. Suddenly, I heard a loud noise outside. It was Bigfoot. He was standing outside my tent, looking soaked and miserable. I unzipped the tent and let him in. He was so big that he barely fit, but he seemed grateful to be out of the rain. We sat together in the tent, listening to the storm. It was comforting to have him there. He huddled close to me, sharing his body heat. I wasn't scared anymore. We were just two friends, seeking shelter from the storm. The tent felt small, but the warmth between us filled the space. That night, the storm brought us even closer, solidifying our bond in a way I never expected. Even in the face of nature's fury, our friendship provided solace. After the storm, the woods seemed even more alive. Bigfoot started showing me things I had never noticed before. He pointed out plants that were safe to eat and others that were poisonous. He showed me animal tracks and taught me how to tell which animal had made them. He knew so much about the forest. It was like he was a part of it. He showed me how to find the best berries and nuts and how to build a small shelter out of branches and leaves. I learned so much from him about how to survive in the wild. He taught me to listen to the sounds of the forest, to feel the wind on my face, and to appreciate the beauty of nature in a way I never had before. He taught me that nature wasn't just a place to visit, it was a place to live in harmony with. Bigfoot, in his silent way, was my teacher, guiding me to a deeper understanding of the natural world. Our lessons together were invaluable. When I went back home, I couldn't stop talking about Bigfoot. I told my friends everything, about our silent conversations, the gifts we exchanged, and all the amazing things he had taught me about the forest. They just stared at me with disbelief. "You're making it up," one of them said. "Bigfoot isn't real. It's just your imagination," another one added. I felt hurt and frustrated. I knew what I had seen, and I knew that Bigfoot was real. But how could I convince them? I tried to explain how kind and intelligent he was, how we had become friends despite our differences. But they just laughed. They said I was spending too much time in the woods and that I was starting to believe in fairy tales. It was hard to hear them say those things. It made me feel like my friendship with Bigfoot was something to be ashamed of. Despite their skepticism, I knew in my heart that our bond was real, and that's all that mattered. However, their doubt made me determined to prove them wrong. The next time I went to visit Bigfoot, I brought my camera. I knew it was risky, but I wanted to get some kind of proof to show my friends. I explained to Bigfoot using gestures that I wanted to take his picture. He seemed hesitant at first, but eventually he agreed. I kept my distance, not wanting to scare him. I aimed the camera and snapped a photo. It was hard to get a clear shot through the trees, and Bigfoot was moving around a lot. When I looked at the picture, it was blurry and out of focus. You could barely make out a large, hairy figure in the background. It wasn't great, but it was something. When I showed the picture to my friends, they still didn't believe me. It could be anything, they said. A bear, a weirdly shaped tree. But I knew what it was. It wasn't perfect proof, but it was enough for me. I decided that I didn't need to convince them. My friendship with Bigfoot was special, and it was enough that I knew it was real. The blurry picture became a private reminder of our extraordinary bond. One afternoon, a thick, smoky haze filled the air. The smell of burning wood stung my nostrils. A forest fire. I knew I had to get out of the woods and fast. I ran to find Bigfoot, hoping he was safe. I found him near the waterfall, looking worried. The fire was spreading quickly and the air was thick with smoke. I grabbed his hand and we started running together. The flames were getting closer and the heat was intense. Suddenly, a burning tree fell in front of us, blocking our path. I didn't know what to do. Bigfoot pushed me aside and, with incredible strength, lifted the burning tree just enough for me to scramble underneath. He saved my life. We kept running, dodging flames and smoke until we finally reached the edge of the forest. We were safe. I hugged Bigfoot tightly, thanking him for his bravery. The fire had shown me just how much he cared, and I knew I would never forget his selfless act. He truly was a friend for life. I knew it was time for me to leave the woods. The fire had made the area unsafe, and my parents were worried about me. I had to say goodbye to Bigfoot. I went to our special place by the waterfall, and he was waiting for me. I tried to explain, using gestures and drawings in the dirt, that I had to go home. He seemed to understand. He looked sad and I felt a lump in my throat. I hugged him tightly, burying my face in his fur. I didn't want to leave him. I gave him all the food I had left and he gave me one last gift, a small, perfectly round stone. We sat together for a long time, just looking at each other. Finally, I stood up and started to walk away. I turned back one last time and saw him standing there, watching me go. It was the hardest goodbye I had ever said. Leaving him felt like leaving a part of myself behind in the woods. I knew I would never forget him and I hoped he would never forget me. Our farewell was silent but full of emotion. Leaving the woods was like stepping back into a different world. Everything seemed so noisy and busy compared to the peaceful quiet of the forest. I missed Bigfoot every day. I often thought about him, wondering if he was okay and if he ever thought about me. Our friendship had changed me. I looked at nature differently now. I noticed the small details, the way the sunlight filtered through the trees, the sound of the birds singing, the scent of the earth after it rained. I appreciated everything so much more. I also started to believe in the impossible. If I could befriend Bigfoot, then anything was possible. I learned that friendship could bloom in the most unlikely places, and that communication could exist without words. The experience taught me to keep an open mind and to believe in the magic that exists in the world, even if others can't see it. Bigfoot had left an indelible mark on my life. I never told anyone exactly where I had met Bigfoot. I knew that if people found out, they would try to find him. Hunters would want to capture him, and scientists would want to study him. I couldn't let that happen. Bigfoot deserved to live in peace, undisturbed by the outside world. He had shared his world with me, and I had to respect his privacy. I promised myself that I would always protect his secret. Even though my friends didn't believe me, I didn't reveal the location. I knew it was my responsibility to keep him safe. It was a promise I made to him and I intended to keep it. Knowing that I was protecting him gave me a sense of purpose and strengthened the bond we shared, even from a distance. His safety was more important than proving anything to anyone. I was his guardian of secrets. Years passed, but I never forgot Bigfoot. As soon as I was old enough, I went back to the woods. I hiked to the same spot where I had first met him, hoping against hope that he would still be there. The forest had changed a little, but the waterfall was still as beautiful as I remembered. I called out his name even though I knew he wouldn't understand. I waited for hours, but he didn't come. I started to feel disappointed. But then I saw something. Near the place where we used to exchange gifts, there was a pile of shiny rocks, just like the ones he used to give me. My heart leaped with joy. He remembered me. He was still out there. I left a small, colorful drawing of the forest, just like I used to do. I knew he might not see it, but it was a way of letting him know that I hadn't forgotten him either. The hope of seeing him again filled me. The woods still held our secret. I walked around the waterfall, remembering all the happy times we had shared. I found a smooth, flat rock and sat down, closing my eyes and listening to the sounds of the forest. Felt like Bigfoot was right there with me. As I sat there, I noticed something glinting in the sunlight near my feet. It was a rock, but not just any rock. It was the kind of shiny, perfectly round rock that Bigfoot had given me on the day I left. I picked it up and held it in my hand. It was warm and smooth, and it felt like a message from him. He was telling me that he remembered me, that our friendship was still real even after all these years. I smiled, feeling a surge of happiness. It was a silent message, but it spoke volumes. It meant that the woods still held magic and that the most unexpected friendships could last a lifetime. That small token was all the confirmation I needed. Bigfoot would always be a part of my life. My friendship with Bigfoot taught me that the most extraordinary connections can be found in the most unexpected places. It taught me that friendship doesn't need words and that understanding can come in many forms. It showed me that even the creatures of legend can have feelings, emotions, and a deep connection to the natural world. It challenged me to question everything I thought I knew and to open my mind to the possibilities that exist beyond our everyday lives. It made me a better person, more compassionate, and more appreciative of the world around me. Even though I never saw Bigfoot again, I knew that our friendship would always be a part of me. It was a reminder that magic is real, that anything is possible, and that believing in the unseen can lead to the most incredible adventures. And so, I continue to explore the world, always with an open heart and a watchful eye, knowing that there are wonders waiting to be discovered if only we believe. The story of Bigfoot will always be a testament to the power of friendship and the beauty of the unknown. And so, I share this story not to convince you that Bigfoot is real, but to encourage you to open your heart to the possibilities that exist beyond what we can see and touch. Believe in the magic of the world, in the power of friendship, and in the beauty of the unknown. Perhaps somewhere out there are other Bigfoots waiting to befriend someone. Maybe there are other creatures of legend longing for connection. All it takes is an open mind, a little curiosity, and a willingness to believe. Look around you. Appreciate the beauty of nature. Listen to the whispers of the wind. You might just discover something extraordinary. You might just find a friend in the most unexpected place. The world is full of wonders waiting to be revealed. Just believe. Our connection, though unconventional, taught me invaluable lessons, prompting me to share this account and inspire others to seek magic. The end.